fuck did I just watch? Okay, first, I'm going to start off by saying thank you to everyone that checked out my Halloween Ends rant. I really appreciated it. Sorry, this just what I just watched. I'm just so pissed off right now. That's it. Thank you to everyone who checked out my Halloween Ends rant. I really appreciated it. And going forward, I think I'm going to keep doing this. Even though Halloween Ends pissed me off so many ways, I'm going to continue to do this because I actually really enjoyed it. So, don't know what the future holds, but as of right now, I am going to keep releasing videos, rants, and I just won't release rants. I also show y'all some, review movies that I do like. But, oh, God. So, live action remake Pinocchio 2022. Now, I'm a big Disney fan. Big. I grew up on pretty much all the Disney movies, and Pinocchio was one of my favorites. As a kid, we had the VHS tape. I watched it. I can't even tell you how many times. Growing up, still always went back to it. Good movie. A lot of laughs. A lot of great moments. Masterpiece, my opinion. This one right here, nah. It embarrasses the animation. The live action remake embarrasses the animation. But, I'll start off by saying, if you enjoyed the live action remake, that's really good. Everybody has their opinions on, like I said in the last video, movies, music, TV shows. Everybody doesn't like the same thing. Well, this one, nah. This was the most lazy, rushed cash grab of live action remakes for Disney. I can honestly see why it didn't go to theaters. Because if it would have went to theaters, this thing would have bombed. I could just imagine. This thing would have 100% bombed. Because it is bad in every way. Pinocchio. They try to make him look like the old animation version, but he just, I don't know, he just seems off in the entire movie, especially his eyes. Like, his eyes look weird as ever. And one of my favorite characters, Jiminy Cricket. Jiminy Cricket is horrible in this damn movie. You could probably get through this movie without Jiminy even being in it. Like, he was just, half the time, he was just so useless. Like, they destroyed Jiminy Cricket. They added new characters. New characters, honestly, didn't care about. Characters that was in it, useless. Like, I'm glad I grew up on in the 90s around a lot of these movies, like Lion King, Aladdin, the old animation, like, because my opinion, they put so much effort, love into those movies, from the music, the animation, the characters, everything. But it seemed like as these Disney remakes are coming out, they're getting worse and worse and worse. Don't get me wrong. When the live action Beauty and the Beast came out, I went to go see it. I actually enjoyed it. I was in the theaters singing along right with everybody else. But as they keep coming out, they are getting worse, worse, and worse. And this one is just the worst. Like I said, if you enjoyed this movie, nothing wrong with that. Let everybody has their opinion. I didn't enjoy this movie at all. Like, I got a headache just from watching it. Like, not even 30 minutes in, I was getting a headache. Spoilers ahead. Spoilers ahead. First of all, the animation opened up with Jiminy Cricket singing Wish Upon a Star. That is one thing I always loved as a kid, the opening of Pinocchio. And especially Jiminy Cricket, talking about how, one night a long time ago, his travel took him to a quite little village. It was a beautiful night. The stars were shining like diamonds high above the roof of that sleepy old town. Pretty as a picture. And like all that was just like, they just set the tone. You don't get none of that in this. It starts off with Jiminy singing a little bit of Wish Upon a Star. And then you see him walking, and he's also narrating at the same time. And he starts talking to himself while he's narrating. You see him walking. He starts talking to himself like, "Oh, I know what your future is. I'm the older version of you." Like, cringy as ever. That opening was horrible. Like, I'm getting more mad just thinking about it. Well, gets inside Geppetto's house. Nothing against Tom Hanks, but horrible Geppetto. Like, it's probably definitely what he had to work with. Like, because this Geppetto was just horrible. Like, I love Tom Hanks. Like, he played in a lot of my favorite movies, especially Forrest Gump. But this was not a good Geppetto. Like, instead of, unlike the animation, the animation one, Geppetto just wanting a son. Apparently he lost, in the live action, he lost his wife, he lost his son, so he's making the puppet as a tribute to his son. The clocks in the animation version, all of them were so unique. Just, I loved them as a kid. Every time that part came up and they showed all the clocks and stuff like that. The clocks in this one is all Disney themed clocks. Like, let's just throw a bunch of Disney themed clocks in there. Let's just put our stamp on everything. This movie was so trash. Well, lost my train of thought. This pisses me off so bad. Well, oh, and they cut out Little Wooden Head, the Little Wooden Head song, which is, an animation version when Geppetto wanted to try out, Pinocchio for the first time. Sung Little Wooden Head, a good moment. Cut it out. I don't even know what the hell Geppetto was even singing when he tried out Pinocchio. And in this version, in the live action version, when it comes to Geppetto wishing on the star, we don't even get to see it happen. We don't even get to see it fucking happen. In animation, they're getting bid. He's like, "Oh, Figaro, I forgot to open the window." Figaro gets up, opens up the window. Geppetto sees the star. He just opens up the window. Oh, what a lovely night. He's getting in bed. Oh, look, the wishing star. Oh, I haven't seen one in years. And he starts, what I wish for, what I want to wish for, kind of sounds. So, and we don't even get to see it. We don't even get to see it. We don't even get to see it. I kind of wish this was liquor. Really wish this was liquor. So, Blue Fairy comes. Well, first of all, before the Blue Fairy even came, Pinocchio comes alive and he's still on the strings. Jiminy sees him come to life. And he starts freaking out, and all Pinocchio could do is repeat what everybody else is saying right now. The Blue Fairy comes. She's like, "I'm the Blue Fairy." Pinocchio's repeating, "I'm the Blue Fairy," and she's like, "No, I'm the Blue Fairy." He's like, "I'm the Blue Fairy." She's like, "Oh, I know what's wrong," and she fixes them, takes the strings off. She tells him, about Geppetto wishes upon a star, and he wants a real boy. She sings "Wish Upon a Star." Jiminy Cricket comes in with the whole conscience stuff, just like but it fell so flat in this one. So eventually, Geppetto gets up, finds out Pinocchio's alive, and he's so happy. He's like, "Oh, you are a real boy. You're real." This version is just falls so flat, and the other one, it was just so a good moment. Not in this one. Well, they lay down to go to sleep. He tells Pinocchio, "Oh, you have to go to school the next day." And unlike the animation version, she's like, "Close your eyes and go to sleep." And this is one of my mom's favorite parts. Pinocchio's like, "Why?" And he's like, "Oh, everybody goes to sleep. Figaro goes to sleep, and Cleo, and plus tomorrow you got to go to school. Why? Oh, to learn things and get smart. Why? Oh, because, not in this one. This one, he's like, I think it's time for you to go to school tomorrow." Pinocchio's like, "Oh, really?" Cut to the next day. Comes outside, sends Pinocchio off to school. Jiminy's late. Just like, in the animation version. Jiminy's Cricket's late. But everything in this movie is just so rushed. Like, Honest John and Kitty comes out of nowhere, and they're already like, As soon as they see him, they're like, "Oh, Stromboli, oh, he's back in town. Oh, remember the time, Kitty? I put you in strings and passed you off as a puppet." Like, no, it was so cringy in this one. Pinocchio is, and Disney and their lame jokes. Pinocchio runs into horse droppings. He's all sniffing it like, oh, and when Honest John and Kitty sees Pinocchio, animation version, he's like, a little wooden boy, a wooden boy. Look, Kitty, a live puppet without strings. That would be a fortune to someone. In this version, he's just like, oh, a little wooden puppet. And doesn't have the same impact. I know I keep comparing the animation to this one, to the live action, because it's supposed to be a live action reboot. But you can't help but compare it, because that one, back in the day, so much better than this fucking one. By a mile. By universe. Well, they get Pinocchio off on, oh, don't you want to be an actor? Forget school. They start putting modern day stuff in it, which is, I never understood. Well, Jiminy eventually catches up to Pinocchio, just like in the original, but it's so rushed. Everything's so fucking rushed in this movie. He convinces Pinocchio to go to school. Pinocchio actually listens, and another one he didn't listen. He listens in this one. He goes to school. The teacher kicks him out because he's like, oh, school is for real kids. Go to not some puppet. Go to the puppet show. So, Honest John and Kitty ends up trapping Jiminy, who's outside the school. Convinces Pinocchio, oh, you try going to school, but you should just be in, school didn't want you, just become an actor. They go, take him to Stromboli. Pinocchio starts singing the whole I got no strings, but the whole thing is just falls flat. There's a new character and a new puppet who's run by a girl, and the girl can sing because she has her own song. She can sing, I give her that, but I really didn't care. The whole Stromboli part where the singing and all the puppets like I put my strings on you, that was so much better. They don't do none of that singing. All the puppets is just dancing and stuff in here. It just falls completely flat. And the whole time, Jiminy's still trapped underneath the jar that they Honest John and Kitty put him in. So it's like, in this one, Pinocchio's not learning right from wrong. Like, yes, I understand that the other one and back in the day was dark, and stuff, but Pinocchio's not learning anything in this. So, after the show, Pinocchio goes and finds the girl that runs the puppets, finds her singing and stuff. She has a messed up leg, and she brings out the puppet, starts dancing. Stromboli comes busting in, and that's when he traps Pinocchio and telling Pinocchio that, this will be your home where I can find you always. That falls flat too, because, Stromboli did it way better in the animation. And Pinocchio's all upset, calling for Jiminy, calling for his father. Meanwhile, Jiminy's still trapped underneath the jar. It gets after 5 o'clock. It's after 5 o'clock. I left out this. It's after 5. The pedal's all worried. And unlike the animation where he had already fixed dinner and stuff. He's like, where could he be at this hour? I better go out again and look for him. Nobody better eat a bite until I find him. You know, Figaro tries to eat his fish, but Cleo stops him. He gets mad. Another part I remember, which my mom liked too. Well, because we always watch Pinocchio growing up. This time he puts Figaro in a bag, takes Cleo with him to go off to look for Pinocchio. And there's also a new character, a seagull, that don't care about. So the girl comes and tries to talk to Pinocchio, saying like, "Oh, we're gonna help you get out of here. Stromboli's a bad man." And Pinocchio's like, "Leave me alone." He doesn't want to talk to her. I can't trust a human. So she brings out the puppet and starts talking to him. And Pinocchio starts talking to the puppet. And Stromboli comes in. She runs away. He locks the ceiling hatch that she was hanging from to talk to Pinocchio. The coach goes past Jiminy, who's still locked in the jar. But the rumbling of them going by and a rock hitting it, Jiminy's able to get out. He sees Pinocchio trapped. He goes in. And instead of the Blue Fairy coming to help Pinocchio find out why didn't he go to school and all that stuff like that, Pinocchio nose grows from him lying so he can retrieve the key, so he can get the key for Jiminy to get him out. Everything is just so dang rushed in this movie. So Pinocchio gets out, saying that he had to lie to make his nose grow so he can get the key. He starts apologizing, his nose grow back. And instantly, like I said, like I've been saying, the movie is so freaking rushed. While Pinocchio is escaping Stromboli, he immediately runs into the coachman who's on his way with the kids to Pleasure Island. Just like that. It wasn't no running into Honest John again and Honest John fooling him like I'm giving you my ticket and all that stuff. He just immediately runs right in to the coachman. They tell him they're going to Pleasure Island. They're going to Pleasure Island. They're going to Pleasure Island. Pinocchio doesn't want to go. This time the coachman has his own song, didn't care about. And, they're like, Pinocchio, we can't go unless you want to go. Pinocchio, out of peer pressure, says yes, let's go to Pleasure Island. They go. And like I said, Pinocchio's not learning right from wrong in this one, like the other one. This time around, I know because it's Disney, they can't do nothing dark like the old, Pleasure Island. They were drinking, beer, smoking cigars, cigarettes and all that. Well, they can't do that in there. It's all replaced by root beer. And the kids are being bad, but Pinocchio doesn't want to be there. Pinocchio's not being bad. He's not have to learn right from wrong. He's just he doesn't want to be at Pleasure Island. I give the movie this. Pleasure Island did look cool. It looked, all the CGI for that looked good. But other than that, Pinocchio doesn't want to be there. Laughwick is just cringy in this. And like I said, nothing against none of the actors and actresses doing these roles. They're just what they got to work with. It's just all falling flat in my opinion. So they're drinking root beer. While Geppetto's out looking for Pinocchio, the seagull brings him a flyer letting them know that Pinocchio's at Pleasure Island. And he's like, "Oh, is this where Pinocchio is?" The seagull's like, "Yes," and doesn't say yes, but shakes her head yes, and he knows where he is. So I said, whole time Pinocchio doesn't want to be there. There's no drinking, there's no smoking, because, nowadays and stuff, they're just drinking root beer. The kids are being bad. They're smashing clocks. Laugh was like, oh, we got to come back to this spot. Pinocchio was like, my father be upset, seeing all this because, all the clocks being smashed. And the pool hall scene. Pinocchio said they're not drinking and smoking. They're just, drinking root beer. Laugh was playing. Jiminy comes and everything's already being rushed. The kids are already going, turning into donkeys. Jiminy sees one donkey being captured by those monster creatures that the coachman had in the animation. And instead of having Jiminy Cricket have a confrontation with Laughwick, soon as Jiminy walks through the pool hall, Laughwick hits him. He immediately falls down the drain that leads him right to where the coachmen are keeping all the donkeys. There's no confrontation between him and Laughwick and telling Pinocchio, how do you ever expect to be a real boy? Because can't do that because Pinocchio's not being bad at this one. He doesn't want to be there. So, which was one of my favorite parts in the animation version, Jiminy Cricket's confrontation with Laverick, Pinocchio. So this is where I find you. How do you ever expect to be a real boy? Look at you, smoking, playing pool, hits the ball. Oh, you come out home with me this minute, and Laverick's like, oh, hey, who's the Beatle? Oh, look at that. Put me down. He was like, oh, he's my conscience. He telling me if I'm right and wrong. What? You're telling me that you take orders from a grasshopper? Jim's like, grasshopper? like Jiminy Cricket tries to fight him in the animation version, yeah, young hoodle, I'll knock your block off. Well, I'll take your part and put you back together. And Pinocchio was like, oh, don't hurt him, Jiminy. He's my best friend. Why, your best friend? What am I? Just your conscience. You buttered your bread, now sleep in it. Jiminy storms off, tries to go home. No, open up this door. Open up. I want to go home. Goes in. That's where he sees all the donkeys and find out what's going on. He finds out that the boys have been turned into donkeys because one of them, the coachman was checking to see if any of them still talked. Not in this one. Jiminy falls down the drain, finds out all the kids became donkeys. And unlike this one, in the animation, it was just an animation version, it was only boys. This one, I see, it was a mixture of boys and girls. Well, and animation version, Laughwick changing into the donkey was the scariest thing. Was the most scariest thing as a kid. Doing all that bad stuff. Pinocchio starts, every time Laughwick is getting his ears, getting his tail, he puts out the cigar, he puts away the beer, and not in this. Pinocchio was like, oh, you cheated, and Laughwick just starts changing, and he's like, oh, what do you think I look like, a jackass? And it just falls flat. The whole transformation just falls flat in this one. So eventually, Jiminy comes back. The coachman busts through the pool hall, tries to get after Pinocchio. Pinocchio does get his ear and tail, and I'm trying to figure out why he gets it, because he's not being bad. Well, because he was drinking root beer. The whole time, Pinocchio didn't want to be there. So why is he getting ears? Why is he getting the tail? So they escape. You know, the coachman's after them. They jump off the thing. They go home. It's daytime. You know, instead of like I said, the blue fairy, she shows up once and then she's never seen again. They go home looking for his dad. The house is empty. You know, and I'm trying to figure out why. It's like, oh, he must be asleep. It's daytime. Why would he still be asleep? Especially if Pinocchio's not home. Why would he go to sleep anyway? That makes no sense. Pinocchio's not home, but you know what? Let me know what I'm gonna, I'm just gonna get some rest. Let me just get some rest, and hopefully he'll show up in the morning. What? What? Well, the sequel, the new character comes back, lets him know that he sold all his clocks to get a boat to go looking for you. Because, people was apparently trying to buy Geppetto's clocks, and, he never wanted to sell them, but he loved Pinocchio so much, he sold his clocks to get a boat to go off looking for Pinocchio. He eventually... The sequel comes, lets him know where he's at, so they go off looking for him, and while Jiminy sees the seagull, while he's like, you wait here, I want to go ask her, does she know which way Geppetto went? Well, we find out the girl comes back with her puppet, lets her know that Stromboli is locked up, and her and everybody else that worked on the show, they got the show back for them, wants Pinocchio to come with them, but he's like, I can't, I have to go, find my father, and his ears goes away. His ears and his tail goes away. The seagull and Jiminy Cricket and Pinocchio goes to find Geppetto. Geppetto's on a boat with Figaro and Cleo, Figaro and Cleo is nothing in this. Not unlike the animation, they meant something in that one. They're nothing in here, just useless in here. Well, they catch up to Geppetto. Pinocchio's all explaining, father, what happened to him. Like, oh, I'm sorry for causing so much trouble. I did this and this. And Geppetto's like, oh, you did all that in one night? Oh, that's more than I've done in a lifetime. So as they're reuniting, Monstro eventually comes. They get swallowed, and, they eventually escape, do the whole thing to escape. And unlike the animation, Geppetto, even though Jiminy tried to see him, get his attention more than once, like, in the animation when Pinocchio's finger was on fire, Jiminy's like, I got it, here's the water, it trips and falls in the hat with water. Unlike this, in this one, he actually sees Jiminy. He's like, because as they're escaping Monstro, which is like a sea monster now, I guess it was kind of cool. This movie's because of y'all more just talking about it. I'm 33 minutes, yeah. Well, they're escaping. Jimmy's like, Pinocchio. He's like, Jimmy, hop on, give him the paddle. And Geppetto's like, who's Jiminy? He's like, he's my conscience. That cricket's your conscience? Like, what? So, escaping from Monstro, the whole thing happens. Not like one animation where Pinocchio was trying to escape, where they were trying to escape, and Pinocchio ends up dying, and Jiminy finds him. Doesn't happen in this one. They stole an idea from the Incredibles movie. If any of y'all have seen that. So Pinocchio's using his legs as a speedboat to make the boat a speedboat, like Flash did in Incredibles. like Dash did in the Incredibles. So, and instead of Pinocchio, this time Pinocchio dying, and then the next day the Blue Fairy's like, prove yourself brave, truthful, and unselfish, you will be a real boy. She brings him back to life, and he's a real boy. And you know, which was another thing that me and my mom and my family liked. You know, he's like, you know, Father, what you crying for? He's like, because you are dead, Pinocchio. No, no, I'm not. Yes, yes, you are. Now lie down. Like, Father, I'm alive. See? Realize that he's a real boy. He's like, oh, you are a real boy. Not in this. Not in this trash one. Not in this trash one. No, we can't have that. We can't have a good moment like that. And we gotta, no, terrible. Like, no, we can't have that in this. So, instead of Pinocchio dying, Geppetto dies. But Pinocchio's so upset, he's singing "Wish Upon a Star." Tear falls down on Geppetto. He wakes up, and the movie's pretty much over. You know, he's telling him, he's like, oh, Geppetto's like, I'm so sorry if I had you feel I wanted you to be someone else. By doing this, you did prove yourself brave, truthful, and unselfish. You are my real boy. And the movie pretty much ends with them walking off, and you hear Jiminy come back to narrate. He's like, and Pinocchio did prove himself brave, truthful, and unselfish. And so many stories were told about him. And one said that he actually did transform into a real live boy. Did that happen? We will never know. But as they're walking off, you see Pinocchio looks like he's changing into a real boy. Like, what the fuck? And the movie goes off. What the fuck was that? What the fuck was that shit? This, and then, like, you know, in the animation, Jiminy asked the Blue Fairy, like, you know, can he get a badge, you know, made of gold? None of that happens in this. Like, this movie was just so trashed. Everything was rushed. It meant nothing. I'm never watching this again. And right now, I don't have any kids. And, you know, I eventually do have kids. they're not even going to know this one exists. I'm going to show them the one that I grew up on. But look at that, 37 minutes. Sorry for ranting so long, but this movie was trash. That's what you get from me. Anybody who watched this, you like this, you like what you like. You know, everybody has their opinion. There's a lot of people that do think this movie was good. I'm not one of them. If this would have came in movies, like would have went in movies, it would have flopped. But it went straight to Disney Plus. But went on for long enough. You know, whoever watches this, thank you for listening. And, you know, like I said, I'm going to keep doing these because even though these movies piss me off, I actually do enjoy it. So, you know, anybody want to have a conversation about this movie? If you liked it, you didn't like it, you know, you can leave a comment, leave a like, you know, share the video. And I'm going to keep doing this. So, whoever watched this video, thank you for listening. You know, whenever you enjoy the rest of your night, enjoy the rest of your day, whenever you see this video, I'm going to go put on something a whole lot better than this. And I'll have more videos coming soon. Deuces.